GSMR GP9 number 1755 is all lit up for the holidays, proudly taking charge of the railroad's Polar Express trains operating between Bryson City, North Carolina and the North Pole. In 2016, the Polar Express hosted over 84,000 riders, over 55 times more than the town's entire population. Although residents of Bryson City can get irritated by the 50-day onslaught of tourists, they admit that their town would be a ghostly one if it weren't for the railroad and the business it brings. After catching dinner and walking around Bryson, we set up for the arrival of the night's second Polar Express, fresh out of the North Pole. After chasing the Tuck train the next day, we hung around and managed to intercept the Polar Express train as it glides downgrade into Ela, passing the fields of Ferguson. This monster, 17-car train operates 3 times nightly on the Tuckasegee branch out to Whittier, which has been disguised as the North Pole for the holiday season. The next evening, we were back to Deep Creek, just in time to see the night's first Polar Express sneaking along the river headed up by the company's 2 original GP9s. As we stood out in the cold, or at least what us Floridians consider cold, the thought of cozily sitting in the passing coach cars, drinking hot chocolate while moving along the Tuckasegee sounded extremely appealing. But nothing beat watching this streamlined, lit-up train cruising through the back of the beyond, as the Great Smoky Mountains Railroad is affectionately known as. Our final stop on our tour of the GSMR was Whittier to see the Polar Express slowing to a crawl as it passed through the North Pole. The 3 unique EMDs in charge of the train, along with their 17 beautifully restored passenger cars in tow, all have wonderfully historic roots, paying extensive homage to 24 different railroads. First and foremost is the leader of this parade, GP9 number 1751. Built for the Texas and New Orleans Railway, it was eventually moved to the Southern Pacific and onto the San Joaquin Valley Railroad until it found a home on the GSMR in the early 2000s. In the second slot is another GP9, number 711, originally built for the Chicago and Northwestern as GP7, number 4380. It's very cold out tonight, which explains why nobody's taking advantage of the Fontana, an open-air car rebuilt from an old Kansas City Southern baggage car. The Bryson City and Silva both call back to the Nashville, Chattanooga, and St. Louis, the Louisville and Nashville, Conrail, and the Seaboard system. The Dillsboro started life up in the Badger State with the Wisconsin and Calumet Railroad, eventually finding its way onto the Chicago and Northwestern. The Pee-wee shares its roots with the Bryson City and Silva, harkening back to the NC and St. L. The Cherokee started as part of a 5-car batch on the Delaware, Lackawanna, and Western, later sold to the Blue Mountain and Reading Railroad, and ultimately on to the GSMR. The Crescent comes from the Texas and Pacific, home to the gargantuan Lima-built 210-4 steam locomotive number 610, both of which still represent the Lone Star State to this day. The Piedmont and Southland, 2 beautiful 6-axle coaches, both have that unmistakable heavyweight look about them. Built for the Southern Railway by Pullman in 1923, both saw service on the railway's flagship train, the Piedmont. The Royal Palm, also from the Southern Railway, has exceptional bragging rights, as it was once a part of Norfolk Southern's executive fleet until its GSMR acquisition in the year 2000. The Conductor's Cafe, used for exactly that, comes from the Pennsylvania, Penn Central, and ultimately Amtrak rosters. The Jackson and Cherokee are the only surviving 2 cars of the GSMR's original 5-car fleet, all 5 named for counties that the railroad served. The Harper, a dining car, comes from Amtrak, who acquired it from the Penn Central. The Bud-type Carolina Shine and Silver Meteor, once operated by rival railroads, now roll through the mountains as siblings. Owned by the ACL and SAL respectively, the Seaboard Coastline merger brought the 2 together, then on to Amtrak ownership until the GSMR bought the pair in '99. The McNeil ran for the Norfolk and Western until the Roanoke chapter of the NRHS took it into custody. Caboose number 6118 came from the Louisville and Nashville and has been outfitted to provide head-end power for this massive passenger consist. And bringing up the rear is GP9 number 1755, once wearing the legendary gray, red, and white paint of the Southern Pacific Railway under the road number 3397. From there, it was passed along to the Arizona Eastern and San Joaquin Valley Railroads and now calls the Great Smoky Mountains Railroad home. The Polar Express stopped only for a moment to allow Santa to hop on and then quickly got back underway. The train pulls just east of the town's road crossing to reverse directions, at which point the 1755 leads the westbound leg of the trip back to Bryson. This was the final GSMR train we would see, and the pink clouds streaking across the sky as the train rolls by couldn't have been more appropriate. Thanks for railfanning with me today, and don't forget to stop on by next time.